the level of learning of the students at an early stage so that the proper remediation can be provided and timely remediation can be provided. Now, the progress cards will also be redesigned because it is aimed that they should be more holistic and cover 360-degree personality of the child. It will be a multi-dimensional report reflecting the progress and uniqueness of the learner and not only the how the child is performed in the pen paper examination. So they will cover all the three domains, that is the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. It will include self-assessment, peer assessment, mentor assessment, and progress of the child in various activities undertaken during the assessment period. So there is an end-to-end transformation that has been proposed in this policy. In case of higher education, a national testing agency will be set up, which will be offering a common aptitude test, which will act as an entrance exam for admission in all the higher educational institutions. Multidisciplinary bachelor's degree with multiple exit options has been proposed. So depending on the time the child is able to spend on a particular course, if because of any reason the child has to drop out, whatever time the child has been spent, child has spent, accordingly he will be awarded certificate after 1 year of study, diploma after 2 years, degree after 3 years, and degree with search credit after 4 years. Now, similarly, there are multiple entry options also. So there will be an academic credit bank will be created for the learners, and depending on the credit they have accumulated, the child can pick up from wherever he left. MPhil courses will be discontinued, and IITs also to make changes embracing diversity of learning. So these are some of the major reforms which have been proposed in the NEP 2020. So before we move forward to the formal talk, I would request all the speakers to share their views or the opening remarks, and I request you to kindly keep it very brief, maybe in 1 minute. Let us know what is that excites you the most about the policy, or any concern that you see regarding implementation, or anything that you find is going to be very difficult or is not very practical. So I would request Mr. Philip, sir, to kindly share his views.
Thank you, Raki Madam, and Rajul sir, and all other distinguished experts sitting here. Well, today, this afternoon, I'm planning to discuss teacher education mentioned in our NEP. Now, this NEP 2020 is no doubt, it's a great ambitious project. They have included so many other things which the previous government could not do it, or they have been thinking over it, but it could never be put into practice. It's a beautiful one. A lot of all that field and areas are covered here. Now, one thing that I liked most is to bring back the nobility and respect of the teachers of old. That means when we go back to the Gurukul time, there we know the teachers had a lot of respect. Parents, students, everyone respected a guru. But today, there are so many other things happening. The number of teachers have increased, and they are not able to keep up their nobility or do what parents and teachers expect from them. But this government is trying to bring back that lost charm of a teacher's life. Now they say it to remain motivated, empowered, and innovative. So I'll be sharing in the major session with what are the problems of teacher education. Now, teachers are very important today, just like any other profession, more than any other profession, I would say. If teacher is not there, other professions won't be there. And there are some roadblocks. When you read NEP 20, everything is beautifully described. But the major problem is of implementation. How we will put it in practicals. So I'll be talking about it. This is my topic is teacher education today.
Thank you, sir. And we are definitely looking forward to hear from you about the teacher education. And you rightfully pointed out that implementation is the key to the success of this policy. We'll be able to achieve only if we are able to successfully implement. Thank you, sir, for your opening remarks. I now request Madam Lily Nagpal to kindly share her views, the opening remarks, ma'am.
There is a very strange technical glitch that some of the people have joined some other link. So Lily ma'am is there, so she is joining us here in next moments. So I would request if we can move on to the next
Yes,
speaker.
yes. Meanwhile, I'll request then Madam Sanobar Khan, ma'am, if we can hear from you. What is that you find most laudable about the policy or anything that concerns you?
Well, thank you very much, Rakhi ma'am. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes,
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Overall, the whole idea of NEP really intrigued me, and it really, it looks like a very nice and motivational, fancy document. But of course, there are, as Mr. Phillips said, there are, blocks, there are hurdles to cross all these points. But the best thing which I liked is the holistic and multidisciplinary education. That's the best thing. You know why? Because I've been teaching different curriculums. I have dealt with British curriculum, American curriculum. And when I used to look into CBSE, I always used to feel that it's a wonderful education system which my country has developed. But there are certain things that should be fixed. And hopefully that this education policy will certainly fix. And the best part which I will be speaking today will be the holistic and multidisciplinary education system and the integration of vocational training. These are the two major points which I'll be talking and which really intrigued and I was excited about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And definitely, we are looking forward to hear from you about this, because this is, I think, the most uh, highlighted, you can say, reform which has been proposed by this policy, the holistic part and the flexibility that it has provided to the learners. I would now request Dr. Dinesh Nagpal, sir, if we can hear from you about the policy, your opening remarks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And thank you, School Lalaji, and everybody present here for letting me be a part of this discussion. I went through NEP and I listened to your discourse also, ma'am. I think it is a very, very exciting opportunity uh, in terms of principles or in terms of the ground reality thinking, because I think it was overdue, as Philip sir rightly said. 34 years we waited for this education policy. Meanwhile, a lot of water has flown down the rivers, and a lot of changes have been happening. In fact, if I look at the way, since I work very closely with universities, with I work with school students also, so I can actually see, especially when there's a class 10th stage where now the talk about subject choice is going on. Since I'm into counseling, so lot of people come into and talk to me about how to go after in 11th and what to do. I think national education policy has tried to address that issue, because this is a major issue, and lot of our young talent is wasted, or rather I say struggles to find the right kind of career for which he or she has a skill set but is not advised properly, or there is no proper platform which does it. National education policy is talking about, and I think then the common testing that is for the admissions, because if you look at the boards, right, there's such, I will be talking about that also. I'll be talking about teacher education, the challenges being faced in the 21st century, because I also do a lot of teacher training program, a lot of faculty development programs in different schools. So I interact with a lot of teachers. Just last thing, because time is really short, I would say that the board level of the board is very different. That is why the admission criteria, which is happening in most universities on the basis of +2 exams or +2 marks, I think really it needs to be replaced with a common testing system. So I'll be taking up these issues later in the day when you invite me. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us, and we're all excited to have you and hear from you later.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
And thank
Lily,
you.
Lily ma'am has also joined.
Yes,
Lily ma'am has also joined us.
yes, I'm inviting her. Yeah. Welcome, Lily ma'am. We are really glad to have you. And I would now request you to kindly share your opening remarks about the policy. I'm sure you've already gone through the policy and you must have concluded. So please share with us something that you find most laudable about this policy or any concern that you see as a school leader. Yeah.
Right. First of all, good afternoon, all dignitaries present here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, lovely. So very good afternoon to all of you dignitaries present today. Rajul, thanks for having all of us together. It's indeed a matter of pride that we all are together and discussing something that is very, very essential part, of our life and for our children. First of all, thanks to you for letting us on this platform where we are going to discuss about the decoding of the National Education Policy 2020. I must say it's a blessing to all our children, to our country, and to all of us that this has been introduced after so many years. I look forward today to sharing my thoughts with all of you and learning from each one of you and actually implementing the best practice I collect today from many of you dignitaries sitting here. I would just like to share here with you Jake's quote: "The world is a university and everyone in it is a teacher. Make sure when we wake up in the morning, we all go to school." And lastly, I would like to share something about Albert Einstein's quote: "Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of mind to think." And thanks to this policy, because I think whatever these quotes I've put forward to you, it actually is an answer to what is being appreciated long back. I thanks to all the educators who have worked hard day and night, relentlessly for years. And finally, this introduction of NEP is given to us. It's a challenge to all of us, and I think we all are ready to take this challenge. I'll further on speak more about NEP, in my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you so much, and once again, good to see you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Definitely, we are all excited that with implementation of this policy, the education system is going to train the students for life and not for examination ultimately.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today.
Thank you.
I now request Dr. Arpana Vibhuti to kindly share her views. Ma'am, if we can hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Rakhi madam. Thank you, Raju. So, in my view, you all dignitaries are present over here to discuss the national education policy, and moreover, this policy is what they define. It is consists of all the points. Like earlier, it is not about the particular field, but yes, students from the childhood to the, since I belongs to SRM University and I am taking care of the higher education system. So moreover, the students who are coming over here in the higher education, so we are also encouraging our students to go in the international universities or student exchange program to train themselves, or even the credit transfer is one part of that. But now this NEP is bringing the students according to their interest, that in which field they can make their own career. So the only concern about this policy is the implementation and to train the teachers who are going to assist the student in the future, like NEP, how the students are going to be assessed. For that, we need to have training for the teacher properly, so that the students and the teachers, they both can equip themselves for this new policy. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to have you and looking forward to hear from you further.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Now request Mr. Sunil Dangi to kindly share his views. So if we can hear from you, what excites you the most about this policy and any concern that you would like to share with us?
Good afternoon, everyone. And the I'm happy with the part of there is a when I was a student, then or even now in the existing system, a student is categorized into three categories after class 10th: commerce, science, or humanities. But when I'm an engineer, I'm an IT graduate, so I was good at say in maths, and that's why I had to go to for the non-medical. But I wanted to study economics also, and I am interested in the political science also, but that thing was not there. And if that would have been there, and while after entering the IIT, I took lots of subjects of economics. So if it would have been given, the opportunity would have been given to me in class 11 12, I would have been very happy for that. And as there will the more options are coming with the new education policy, so there will the more confusion will rise. So we are going to discuss how those confusions can be removed, and by DIY, do it yourself. We are developing a very AI based and machine learning based technology platform where a student or a parents can explore everything for himself, and a parent can explore everything for the child, and similarly the teacher. So that's what I'm going to discuss about. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanki. And definitely being progressive is the very basis of this policy. So, and it is very important that we school leaders and the education system adopts the technological advancements like artificial intelligence to their use. So thank you so much for joining, and we would definitely want to hear from you more about your application. Thank you for joining us today. I now request Mr. Luke Masito to kindly share his views. Mr. Luke, has he joined us, Raju?
I believe he's facing some technical glitch. He will be joining us in next moment. We can move ahead.
All right. All right. So now we will begin with our formal session, formal talks, where I would invite you to share your views about the particular topic that you're going to speak about. So before I begin, I would like to quote Clay B. Bedford. He said, "You can teach a student a lesson for a day, but if you can teach him to learn by creating curiosity, he will continue the learning process as long as he lives." So it is very important for us educationists to ignite that desire to learn, so that our students, when they walk out of the schools, they become lifelong learners. So I would invite Philip sir to share with us that how can we train our teachers to be such educators who are able to equip the children with the 21st century skills, and at the same time cater to the multidisciplinary aspect of the this new education policy.
Thank you, madam. Before I start, let me present something to you. Now, can you see this?
No, sir, we can't share, see your screen. You
One
have to
minute.
share.
1 minute. There is a technical glitch. Just 1 minute.
Okay. Yes, we can see it now, sir. We can see your presentation. We can see your presentation, sir, but you are on mute. If you'll need to unmute yourself if you're speaking.
Yes, madam. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you and see the presentation also.
Sorry for the technical problem. Fine. So as I've told you earlier, I'll be talking about teacher education as mentioned in National Education Policy 2020. Now the teachers in this policy, teachers are been given a lot of importance, a lot of weightage. I'm very happy about it. Otherwise, teachers were not taken into a great consideration. Policies were made and teachers were supposed to follow that without any question, without any suggestions. But this, I'm very happy. Now let's see, there are some teacher education. See, when we say teacher education, we get a B.Ed or an M.Ed or MA in education or MSc in education, whatever it is. That is just a beginning. If you have a B.Ed or an M.Ed, it's just a beginning. It's not the end. Now it is a continuous process. Teacher education is a continuous process. Even in my school, I tell the teachers, never stop learning. The moment you stop learning, you will be out of the race in teaching community. So such teachers, such educators, I mean, I don't call them educators, if they don't read, if they don't renew themselves with a continuous learning, they cannot be called an educator. So they will be extinct. So it is very, very necessary for every teacher to update themselves and every day. And the second point, it's ever evolving and dynamic. You cannot argue, a teacher cannot argue that, oh, I attended a CPD sessions last year. Chalega? No. Whatever you have learned last year, that was according to the last year. But today, every day, you see the knowledge is developing so much, exploding so much. Whatever techniques and approaches that you have studied in B.Ed classes or M.Ed classes is gone. It's evolving and it's dynamic. So we have always to be on our toe to update ourselves as a teacher. Now, why we need education? Why B.Ed or M.Ed is not enough? One reason I have already told you, it is always changing. Now, as a teacher, every day you are making new relationships and practices. See, in earlier days, a teacher's duty was only to teach the prescribed syllabus. You teach the child and encourage the child to learn it by heart, and you ask one or two questions related to that. The child writes correct answer, teacher is happy. Now, the accountability for the teacher was very little in those days. And today, not only the relationships and practice there, you are using new tools. Look at your teacher or your teacher 50 years before. They had only two tools, a chalk and a blackboard. But today we have many, many tools, and we should be tech savvy to use all these tools. Otherwise, we will be left behind. See, it is not a matter how much of technology you have, how much of equipment you have. No, but if you don't know how to use it, it is again a useless thing for us. Now, again, the new teacher, today's teacher, they are coming into new professional responsibilities. Today's teacher is not only a teacher. This teacher does lots of other things. He's also helping in administration, conducting the board, meeting with the teachers and the parents. And the teacher has to counsel the children, counsel the parents. So there is a lot of responsibilities have come up. Now, to keep abreast with these things, it is very necessary for the teachers today to be updated. So that is only one platform, that is teacher education. Now, why this needed? Because teachers are important in our society. We cannot ignore them. And they teach. See, now today's teachers, they have to teach the children what to teach. They should know what to teach. And they also should know how to teach. Compared with the teachers olden days, there was no how to teach. They just read, just briefly explain something, then assessment, that's all fine. And what to teach? Again, from the higher ups, they have been given the instruction, you teach like this. There is no changing from that. Teachers cannot use any innovative method. But today, we are into that platform. The government, the administration is expecting us to use different pedagogical tools and different teaching methods, whatever is applicable to that particular classroom. Now, the pedagogical tools that you use today in one class may not be appropriate for the next class. So we have to change every day and every time. So it's a great responsibility for teachers. Now, classroom management. It's a great responsibility on the teacher's side today. Again, when we talk about old teachers, there weren't any problem in the class. So she or he was like a king. Children would come and listen, and then they write down, they go home. They had got much doubts, they wouldn't question you. And they hadn't any behavioral problem as we have today. So a teacher is in another way, teacher is the king of the classroom because he cannot go out and get help then and there. So you should know how to manage things that is happening in the classroom as it arises. Several things arise in the classroom, which we never expect. So a teacher must be able to, competent enough to deal with that. Now, dealing with parents and other stakeholders. We have parent-teachers meetings. You have to convince them, you have to make them happy, you have to tell them how it is. So it is again a teacher's duty. Now, motivating and inspiring the learners. It is again teacher's duty. You have to motivate the learners and inspire them and counsel them. They have lots of problems, social, family problems. their personal problems. So a teacher has to counsel them. It is not the duty of the school counselor. A school counselor may not be able to do all together alone, but a class teacher or a subject teacher can do the base counseling. And if the teacher cannot do it, then he can refer to the school counselor. Not only counseling children, today's world is very greatly different, and we have to counsel ourselves. Now, what is it self-counseling? When you come across problems, you tell yourself, look, this is the way to do. This is not the way to do. And it is a self-counseling. That is also very important for today's teacher. You must have control over your emotions. Then you can suggest remedies in the weakness of curriculum. Today's teachers can do that. If something wrong with the policy makers, well, that is why we are here today. So we have the right to point out, this is the weakness. This will not work in this context. You have the right to tell them. Then when you go for education, teacher education, you will come in contact with great leaders, great educators. So make a network. Sometimes they can be your mentors. And above all, it's already mentioned, you improve your teaching skills. Remember, a teacher cannot have only one skill. No. I've told you, a teacher must have particular skill in one classroom, that is, let's say, class 8A, but he should have another skill in 8B. Then again, the teachers, the students and parents will look up to you as a model. So it is again your responsibility to act as a role model. So coming to the need, these are the needs I was discussing with you, but now there are some roadblocks, some challenges of the teacher education. Let's see, what is that? The one thing is a lack of uniformity among teacher education institutes or teacher training colleges. The curriculum is different, syllabus is different, the style is different. Secondly, there are substandard colleges. Here in this area, we can see a lot of standalone colleges only teaching B.Ed. And the B.Ed teachers are not qualified enough. So there are many. These are doing harm to our teaching of the teachers. Actually, it's a lack of finance. Now, even if they want to buy technical things, they have no money. Then incompetent teacher trainers, I've already told you, they are not trained, they are not well versed with what is the new education policies and all. This is right from theory to classroom. Now, many of these teachers, many of these teaching training, the B.Ed colleges use traditional teaching methods and approaches. Then another great problem is short duration of courses. Just 1 year is not enough. So that is why the new policy, according to the new policy, we have 4 years of integrated B.Ed class. But even that is very little, I say, because in 4 years, it almost like today's 1 year B.Ed colleges, because 3 years will take to learn content, the subject matter. Now, along with that, you will be learning teaching methods. Again, the time is very little. So it's very, very pleasant to hear 4 years B.Ed college. It is not all 4 years. You are not taught about teaching and learning aspects. You are also being taught other subject matter. I would say this 4 years is too little now. We need to find some other method. Now, lack of dedication among teachers. They have no dedication, like it's just a way of life. And the modern teachers today, very few, very little, percentage of teachers use technology in the classroom. Teacher must use, be English teacher or a maths teacher, technology is a must. Now, another roadblock is why teachers are not taking keen interest. The low salary and perks. And the dearth of teachers by choice. I've noticed in my life as a school leader, there are many teachers who come for interview and they are just by chance. They become teachers by chance, not by choice. So they didn't have an idea. And for them, teaching job is a fallback career. It should not be like that. Sorry, the points are repeated. Let's come to the lack of learning by teachers. Yes, that is the main point here. Once in India, once a teacher is always a teacher. Whereas in European countries, they have given license for 5 years. For some countries, there are 3 years. After that, they have to renew the license. Here, what is happening in India, it's okay, once you get a B.Ed or M.Ed, you got a teaching position in any school or a college, and you remain there. There is no need of renewing your license. Now, about this, in this policy, nothing very clearly is mentioned, but in very often they have mentioned the outstanding teachers will be given promotion. That is mentioned in several places. So now who can be that outstanding teachers? Who are learners, who have interest in learning new things? They will be called outstanding teachers. Now, the teachers today, they are unaware of latest teaching methods. Every day there's something that is improving, like the field of computer, IT, teaching level also is improving. There are many methods and approaches coming up. And another problem, why we can't do is all the teachers are entangled in syllabus completion of whatever you tell them, sir, we have no time. We have to complete the syllabus. Now sit down for a moment and let's think. What use is completing some kind of syllabus, which is actually no use for a child in future, which is not teaching any kind of life skills, but you call it 21st century skills. Actually, there is no 21st century skills. Skills have been there, but we have come to know about it only in 21st century. We have realized that it is important only in 21st century. So it's not a skills that has come all of a sudden in 21st century. No. So life skills. Now today's teachers are just concentrating on passing on information. We are okay. You have a textbook, and then read the textbook or explain it, and question answers given at the end. That is passing on information. That anyone can do. We have a lot of other things for pass on information. A teacher's job is not simply passing on information. Then what the teachers face, there is no support from the top. Even in the school, teachers, especially the principals or coordinators, they may not support them. Even if they come up with an innovative idea in a classroom, they will shelve it. Then teachers 95% of teachers today are not tech savvy. There are many schools, they buy a lot of modern equipment, but teachers don't know how to use it. So what is the use? It's a waste, a mammoth waste of energy and money. Now, in today's condition, at the background of this NEP 2020, my feeling is, my observation is that educators need more time. They need more training and more mentors. I told you earlier, they are all busy completing the syllabus. And they have no time to go for any training because they have other duties in the school. They have classrooms and they have no mentors. So my suggestion today is that these teachers across India, whether it is private or government, one teacher must be given 15 to 20 days in a year compulsory, minimum 50 to 20 days in a year for teacher education. So they go. It's not necessarily all teachers should go together. No. Today I took leave and I did some course of my interest. When I come back, another teacher goes and she will study of her own interest. So this part is not seen in the NEP 2020. And the great other thing is old habits die hard. You have been taught in a way and you follow that way. So it takes courage to change the style. So it has become a habit. Your teachers have been taught that way, so they followed it. And now in this today's generation of educators, it's a hard responsibility to them. They have to change. So transition is required now. Forget about what happened in the old days. The new things are coming. You have to transcend into the new and take the new generation along. Now, okay, madam, do I have enough time?
So actually, we don't, but if there is something very important that we are left with, you can quickly share.
So the time was allotted 10 minutes for all the speakers.
Okay.
So I would request, right, sir.
Yes, actually, we would come back to you during the question answer session. Actually, we want some time during that unmoderated session so that we can further discuss on this topic.
Okay, fine. Just one half a minute.
Sure, sir.
Can you see this on the board? Everyone, I think, see. Without appropriate technology, my student simply cannot. Now they fill in the blanks. So now you see what is coming into your mind. Why you should use appropriate technology in your classroom. That shows the need for teacher education. Now, if there is any teacher, any educator who simply ignores this, he cannot write anything in this blank, I doubt she or he will be a good educator. And she will not follow technology. And those teachers who does not follow technology will be left out. Okay, thank you very much. I'll come back to you afterwards. Yes, madam.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your views about such an essential topic that is teacher education. And you've rightfully pointed out that without trained teachers, the NEP 2020 will just remain a vision document. We'll not be able to achieve any of the goals which have been set by this policy. So thank you so much, sir. Very valuable points you've put forward. And I'm sure we're all going to gain from your views. Thank you so much. I now request Madam Lily Nagpal to kindly further elaborate on NEP.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Lovely. Can you all see my screen here?
Yes, ma'am, we can see that.
Lovely, lovely. Okay, so, well, first of all, I would just like to say that in the following 9 slides, this is what I have taken out of this policy. You know, this is what I have understood, and I'll try to be very, very brief. It's, I think, 2 minutes to 4. So by 4:10, I'll be finishing it, right dot on time, hopefully. Thank you. So, new education policy 2020 for all of us. First of all, I just wanted to let you know that I have taught, and I've been ahead in the UK for 15 years. And when I came to India, it was very difficult for me to balance everything out because everything cannot change overnight. But I have tried my best to bring a balance of UK into here. However, I've not been able to do much. But yes, I've tried to do quite a few things. And I think this education policy, looking at the positive side of it, I see here is that there is something. Before there was nothing. So let's make use of this, what we have at the moment. So at first, I love the way they have changed the Ministry of Human Resources Development, Government of India to Ministry of Education. At last, the government realized that education is something which needs to be looked into very deeply, and there has to be a proper team looking after it, and there have to be proper, inputs into this field. Because when I was in the UK, every year there were inputs, in the field of education, and we had to update every year, So as Mr. Phillips said, that we need the change, So 1968 came up the first policy, then came 1986, and a little bit updated in 1992, but that wasn't much, so it wasn't included. 2020 NEP, we expect this implementation in 2022. That's what the government says. However, because of Corona, hopefully, this will be able to implement by 2023. Depending on how fast we find a vaccine for this Corona. 10+2 system, where you and I come from, where year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then year 11, year 12. So this is where we all have been, learning, and still today, it's the 10+2 system. But the change they brought here is that 5 years elementary education, 3, 3, 4. 3 years is 3 to 5, then another 3 years, 6 to 8, and then 4 years, 9 to 12. And the best thing of this NEP, I must say, is the stream, the multiple entry, whereas a child can choose any, subject. It's not just science, arts, or commerce, that's where I came from, and I'm sure many of you came from there. So that's the best part of this NEP 2020. Present system 10+2 starts, at the age of 6. That's what I told you just now. Well, the first aspect they've done is that now the schools will include, from 3 years. A school will start with a child will take an entry at the age of 3, okay? And basically, the whole aspect is all just playway. They want this all to go just playway system of learning. Year 1 and 2 also includes in this no exam. So these 5 years are just for the child to learn in a playway way, read, sing, play. So basically, they want the child to love the education, love school, love coming to school. And also, I think the government has looked into this aspect because a child when he is at the age of 6, 5, 6. So that's the best part of learning, where a child can learn. It is said that when a child is at the age of 5, 6, he can learn about 4 to 5 languages. So the need of the hour is to challenge a child at this age. So that's a great step. No exam, playway system, where a child can love learning, because when he's going to love learning, he's going to retain that learning. Well, the next stage is when a child is coming to, year 3, year 4, and year 5. So 5 plus 3, now this is the 3 aspect, the green aspect I've just shown you, where the exams will be there. The education is going to be activity based. They're going to study a language. And also they're given the, I think, best aspect is that they want the children can learn in their, regional language. For example, if you're a Punjabi, they can teach in Punjabi. But they're not stopping schools to teach in English. So that's a good thing. Apparently, they feel that a child learns better in their native language. So it's a good initiative that, a child to learn in their, own regional language. So there's nothing wrong in it, So that's a great thing. Then comes middle stage here, class 6, class 7, class 8, where a child is going to learn one Indian language, say he can learn Hindi or Sanskrit. Computer coding, which is very much popular in many countries now. The children are being taught computer coding so that they can compete, they can do best, because today's child is born with technology. So we've got to update the child. So that's a really good aspect they include. Vocational technical course. So if a girl wants to learn stitching or design technology, a boy wants to learn or gardening or cooking. And this will be marks based. So a child can take up any one of these aspects, so that's great. I'd like to share with you about my, my stay in London, when I went to school there. Every child learns cooking, he learns design technology, and he learns stitching. So these 3 aspects they learn. So for example, a class of 20 children will learn stitching for 2 months, then they will move into design and technology, and the same class will move to cooking in the end. So it made them self-sufficient, so that's really good. This vocational technical course, which they've started in year 6, 7, and 8, really good. The maths, science, arts, and one Indian language. So this is really great, 5 plus 3, the 6, year 6, 7, 8, where the skill-based learning is going to be there. And I'm sure, and I'm not sure, I've seen it, the children used to love the lesson of cooking, design technology, where they learned how to, cut, make wooden toys. They would make, learn the vocabulary, etc., etc. So they would love doing stitching, the design technology, and, cooking. So I hope we can also develop on these grounds in future in India as well. Last, not the least, secondary, year 9 to 12, multiple subjects, critical thinking, foreign language. Well, yes, the exams are going to be there. Mr. Ramesh Pokhriyal said that you cannot get away with the exam, but that's going to be a semester system, which is good, that a child is on his toes. Every 6 months, there are going to be exams so that they are on top of it. Because at present, I'm sure you all are facing the same thing, that the children wake up in the end in the month of Jan, Feb, and they start learning, and then the exams are given. So that's a wonderful thing, semester system, one foreign language, critical thinking, multiple subjects they can choose, and no stream. So that's really, really good thing happened, Well, I also want to show a little bit to you about what they've thought about graduation. So they've thought of graduation for 4 years. Earlier on, we used to call BA, BSc, BCom, but now all these subjects are merged. So not necessarily, if I want to take economics, I can take accounts, I can take biology. So 1 year, they are saying that if you do 1 year, you get a certificate. If you do 2 years, you get a diploma. If you do 3 years, you get a degree. once you do these 3 years of your graduation, well, you can also take a sabbatical, take up a job, prepare for UPSC exams or whatever competitions you want to take. That's really good. And 4th year, research. So post-graduation is going to be for 1 year if you're going to do 4th year of research, But if you're not going to do 4 years of research, then your post-graduation is going to be for 2 years. Again, it's not going to be called MA, MSc, MCom now, So it's going to be simple post-graduation in whatever subject you do. MPhil degree is cancelled, and PhD, it's the same as before. That is 4 years. Well, the positive aspect of NEP, what I feel is that earlier only 2% of GDP was going to education, but now it's 6%. So finally, they've thought about it that yes, we need more money into education, so that's great. School fee, they're planning that nationally all schools will have an equal fee structure. Vocational, brilliant. Children are going to be, very good at skill till the time they are here. Result, it's not going to be just marks of what you learn or what you memorize, but it's going to be collective marks where a child will have to self-assess themselves. They have to be a good friend. They have to be a good human being, and they have to have a good teacher relationship. Okay, so the marks are on a complete holistic development of a child. One aspect good is that they've allowed the foreign universities to come to India. About top 50 universities they've allowed. Earlier they were saying that they had to pay about $50,000 to have this university started in India, but not anymore. So they've invited, for example, Oxford University would come to India and they would not have to pay anything to the government. So that's a good sign. So now many universities can think of opening in India, and Indian children can take the benefit of that. I'll give an example. One of my friends used to work in Luton University in England. And she used to tell me that 40% of the children in that university are coming from India. And how much money they are spending, it comes to about more than ₹1 crore for a child to study in the university out there. And in universities in UK, they just call you for 2 days. Mark my words, only 2 days you have to go to the university, and rest 2 days they have to just sit in the library doing group work, collective work, research work, and they're paying so much for it. So that's a good thing. New universities, good universities, top universities will start in India without paying anything to the government. Another thing they've added to this is department. A syllabus department is going to be separate, salary department, scholarship department, result department. So all these aspects are going to be managed by a particular department. It's not just collective. So that's again going to have a good output. Teacher training for 4 years. I just want to share you, I did my B.Ed from India, mark my words, it was just ticking a box. But when I did my teacher training there, for whole 1 year, I was attached with a teacher, where I was giving her tea, I was making her resources, I was preparing her resources. So I was linked with her from morning to afternoon for the whole 1 year. And after 4 months, she gradually got me into teaching. First month, second month, third month. And I think by 7th, 8th month, I felt very, very confident. And actually, I thought I can be a good teacher. So like Mr. Philip said, that at least minimum 4 years training is a must. But that training has to be a hardcore training. Because if we don't have good teachers, then I'm sorry to say that this implementation is going to be extremely, extremely difficult. Few negative aspects. Well, as I told you that they have started this, that they can teach in the regional language. So I think it is in a way a hindrance, but to some it's not, but to some it is a hindrance, because if you see, if the Chinese go to UK, they go to US, they're not able to get the jobs. But if an Indian goes, because of the language, they are, grabbing more jobs than if you compare to Chinese. So that might be a small drawback. Central teachers program and syllabus. So the teachers program and syllabus is going to be controlled by a central government and not a state government. And I feel that's a bit of a negative aspect, Thirdly, well, there should be something on the aptitude of a teacher, that how a teacher to be at school. Every textbook should have teacher aptitude at the last page, where a child can rate a teacher, how he's teaching, or is he having a good relationship, or I love this lesson. So every book should have a aptitude of teacher page, that how the child feels about the teacher. So the teacher is a role model. So I feel it is very strong for a teacher to be a good role model, because a child will learn from him. I think my last slide, I would like to finish with the lines of Dalai Lama. When educating the minds of our youth, we must not forget to educate their hearts. I would just like to say a line on this, that if we can make our children good human beings, I feel that half of the battle of human race is won. So I have done a little thing which I would like to share. In my school, I have got 11 values. Every month we follow a value. So for example, the value of the month of November is, respect in my school. So a lot of activities are being done from year 1 to year 12, where all the children do these activities, and parents actually share with me that this activity, or for example, respect. This month, he's really done a great deed under respect. He's been taking his grandparents for a walk, or sitting with him for an hour, or helping them out. That's the kind of respect as well. So, and they earn a certificate for doing well. So I feel let's focus on moral values, because it is one of the most important things, which I think in India we are fizzling away. So we must not forget to educate their hearts to make them good human beings. Thanks a lot for listening. Thank you. I think I took a little bit of a...
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing the overview of the policy such remarkably. Thank you so much. And definitely the ones sitting in the classrooms today are the future of the nation. So it is important that we are able to give back to the society. Complete, the personality needs to be such that they have those moral values. We need to inculcate those. Thank you so much for sharing your views.
Thank you.
I now request Madam Sanobar Khan to kindly share with us her views about the multidisciplinary aspect, the holistic aspect of the NEP, and also the vocational training, because this is the first time that vocational training has been given such an importance in an education policy. And we're all very excited about it, because we're aiming that this is going to help us prepare the children for the path and not prepare a path for the children. So I invite you, ma'am, to kindly share your views about this.
Thank you very much, Rakhi ma'am. I'm really honored and I'm feeling really proud, because even though I'm miles away from my country, but through this platform, Mr. Prajwal has given me an opportunity to be connected to my own country, my own education system. So I'm really obliged and very, very thankful for this opportunity. First of all, a very, very wonderful evening to all of you. Okay, I would like to present some. Can you, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Sanobar, it is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as we all are gathered here to talk about our national education policy, I would also like to add something. Actually, it's very personalized for me. So there's a little personal touch, because I've been teaching in different curriculums since like almost around 2 decades. But my own children, they were studying in CBSE curriculum since they started their education. So I always used to feel that there are many things that should be corrected, because I always used to compare it from American curriculum, from British curriculum. So I always, but fortunately, or you can say unfortunately, because they have finished their education until now, they passed the schools. But I'm very happy for those who are still in this system. And looking at the policy right now on paper, it seems wonderful. And the most important point, which I feel that this government or the policymakers had added, is holistic and multidisciplinary education. An example of that is my own daughter, who was very much interested in literature. She used to write poetries, and she was very much into this language. But she was very inclined towards science also, and she was a very good student, science student too. So she had to choose one out of her choices. I mean, she cannot take both together. But looking at this, when I read this, I was so happy at one side and so unhappy because it was already done. But I'm happy for those who are going. It gives flexibility to choose subjects, the students to enjoy what they want to, and side by side, after studying with so many different subjects together, they can even later choose one which they want to specialize in. So this is the highlight of the policy, and the most nice point, which I feel, if implemented properly. Now, every coin has two sides. I mean, it looks really fancy, it looks really wonderful, but the only concern which I had in my mind when I read this, can this be implemented properly by all schools? Because now also, when we see that there are stream systems, not all subjects are available in every school due to the lack of faculty or the expert teachers. I just keep my fingers crossed, and I hope that the policymakers will keep this in mind, that they will have some checkpoints to see that this been implemented properly, and a full opportunity will be given to the students in a very broader manner, so that they have an opportunity to choose their favorite subjects and can enjoy their learning process. Okay, moving forward with another point, that is integration of vocational teaching. Of course, as Rekha ma'am said, that this is the most uh, uh, highlighted point again, because this is the first time in India that something like this has been implemented. Yes, of course. Rather, in other curriculums, I see that they have vocational teaching from a very early age. But this thing in India will really boost the confidence of the students. The students who are doing the rote learning, and they are just thinking, I'll become either a doctor or engineer or a very rare choice of professional lines. Now they will be very clear in their mind from a very young age, if if it is very well implemented. The question is that, and they will feel more secured about their profession. They won't be so confused or very lost. They will be very clear that, yes, this is what I'm enjoying, and this is I can. They are not insecure, they are not worried about the jobs, they are not worried about what to choose. So it's a wonderful thinking behind introducing this point in the education policy. Moving towards the next point, which, as Lily ma'am also said, I always used to wonder, why is it MHRD? Human resource development. Yes, of course, there's a sort of development, but it's for it should have a proper specific name. Around the world, you will find education ministry is always Ministry of Education, but it was only our country where it was MHRD. So better the sooner. Alhamdulillah, it's good that I could see this change. And when I was reading through, I came across and I felt, wow, this point should be included when I speak. And before me, another person also highlighted this point. Okay, moving forward, the keeping in mind today's era and today's times, especially when we are in lockdown, the best thing is about book promotion policy and digital libraries. This is the best if it can be reached to our underprivileged group, especially because, as we can see at the moment during the lockdown, there are many who cannot even attend the classes due to the lack of digital appliances or devices. So I feel and I just hope that this can be availed by all classes and all categories of students, hopefully. Next is, of course, the one and only board exams. I studied from CBSE and I was always under, since I was in secondary classes, and everyone used to ask me and tell me, oh, you have to face the boards. It was like a terror or horror over my brain that what am I going to do? Oh my God. And it was such a rot learning. You have to learn, and especially social studies, 4 books, big answers, a lot of things, a student, keeping yourself into a student's shoes, it's too much. But the best part, which I see, is it will be very low stakes and based on knowledge, not the rot learning. I'm sorry, I haven't completed the sentence here in the slide, but I'm completing it while saying. So it's not the rote learning. You will just memorize and just, vomit over the paper for 3 hours. That's it. This is what you are. No, not anymore. Hopefully not anymore. I can see the change last year papers also. I saw that there were many changes done already, and they have started implementing most on continuous evaluation, continuous practical implementation of the knowledge. So that's another great point which I would like to highlight. And that's it. Hopefully that I'm very precise. Okay, the end I would like to do with a quote that intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. And this is what our policy has also implemented, the moral values into the education system. Overall, it has really broadened the whole concept of learning in CBSE mainly. And I feel that these are the major points which really intrigued, and I felt that they were really positive and strong. That's it, Mr. Over to you, Ms. Rekha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rakhi ma'am, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm calling you Rekha again. It's Rakhi ma'am. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay.
I wanted to be precise so that everyone gets fair chance to
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. And we are very honored that you could join us today. See, this policy has also emphasized a lot on collaboration and sharing of resources. So it is very important that we're able to, across the countries, across the borders, we're able to share our views. So that is the beauty about it. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today and sharing your views. I now request Dr. Dinesh Nagpal to kindly share his views about teacher education, because definitely, as was pointed out earlier by Philip sir also, that it's the trained teachers who are going to lead to the success of the policy. Otherwise, it will just remain a very ambitious and a vision document. So, sir, please share your views about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I am audible to each one of you. My voice is clear and
yes, sir.
Yes.
So, as I saw the the invitation, thank you so much, first of all, Mr. Rakul and everybody here. I am into career counseling. I speak at a lot of schools. In fact, more than 100 to 150 schools I get invited every year, and I'm into motivational speaking also. So a lot of I probably address a lot of students. I also train a lot of teachers. So when I saw the topic teaching in 21st century, expectations, challenges, and solutions, I thought I must share my own. I'm actually not. I will not talk much about what national education policy says. Obviously I'm going to include it, but what has been said and what should be done and how it can be done. So to begin with, I remember a quote by John Dewey. John Dewey once he said a very beautiful thing. He said, if we teach these students today what we taught yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. This is a very, very important quote. If all of us, educators sitting here or all education leaders, we can understand. I'll just repeat it. He said, if we teach students today what we taught them yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. And I think that is very, 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 very important, because teachers, or if all of you are school leaders, since as I told you that I do a lot of teachers training program, faculty development program in different government colleges, private schools, private universities. One thing common, and I think I'll take your views, Rakhi ma'am, you have been a very experienced principal, Dr. Lily also, and everybody. I think, if I'm not wrong, lot of the team that you work with, teaching was not their first choice as a profession. Am I right, ma'am? They did not come here out of choice, right? So they probably,
This is
landed
one,
up.
I think, challenge. Yes, yes. This is one challenge which I believe we've all been facing. That
And that is where the inspiration was not there. In fact, Rakhi ma'am, I started my career in Government of India. And my first stint was as a training officer was in Rohtak only. I got trained in All India Radio Rohtak.
Okay.
So then also I met a couple of teachers, in modern school, because Lily ma'am will recollect that modern school is just right opposite to All India Radio. So there also I, asked this question to a couple of teachers that point of time when I had just joined. And this came back to me. They said, yes, no, this is not my first choice. One lady told me, I wanted to be in All India Radio, but now I have to teach. Okay. So this is that is I think a very, very big challenge. A very big challenge. And in fact, if I see the education that is happening today, I'll take only 5 minutes, not more than that. The education that we received way back when I was a student in a school or in a college. In fact, I had the fortune of studying at very top universities. I attended, I was there in IMA also for a very long time. IIM Ahmedabad, all of you know, right? But I still feel that the education that we received that point of time, it should have been very different from what we should have received. And the same is happening today. The same is happening today. And there is the challenge for us, and there is the challenge for teachers. The ground realities are changing very fast. The expectations of parents, expectations of students, the behavior of students. In fact, I'll tell you, uh, in last 8 years, the way a student was behaving in 2010 and the way a student is behaving in 2020 is drastically different in terms of behavior, in terms of respect, in terms of what should I say, right? And the change has been very rapid in last 8 years. So if I met some student in 2006, and the connect that I have with him or her right now is missing a student who passed out in 2019. So the ground realities are changing. Teachers have to be trained. So I think teacher training is a wonderful opportunity for this national education policy. Please understand, the changes in national education policy are there because the government of India feels that we are producing degree holders. See, my wife teaches in a college. Every year they increase seats. The college where I studied was catering up to 1,500 students when I was studying. In the same building now they're catering to 6,500 students. मैं आपको एक हिंदी में बहुत मजेदार बात बताता हूँ. मैं कॉलेज में गया मैम लेक्चर देने के लिए. मैंने आपसे पूछा वहाँ प्रिंसिपल से, मैंने बोला कितने बच्चे आपके स्कूल में, ये कॉलेज में, ये सर 7,500. तो मैंने बोला यार सारे आते हैं, बोले नहीं आते. मैंने कहा अच्छा, बोला हम चाहते भी नहीं वो आए, हम सिर्फ चाहते हैं 30% रोज आए. मैंने कहा क्यों, बोले बिठाने की जगह ही कहाँ है.
Oh my God.
Right? Your one college, I don't want to name, one college in Dehradun has 20,000 kids. So, Abhi, how can you do justice? Right? So that the things are very, and that is why the change in national education policy. Because the government of India can foresee that we need skilled workforce. अब देखिए मैं आपको एक I'll tell you what are the problems that we face. You can get a BTech, you can get an MBA, you can get all degree holders, but if you really want an AC mechanic at the shortest possible notice, can you get one? No. All of you run schools, tell me, getting hold of a plumber,
No.
It's a pain in the neck, right? So we need skilled workforce. That is why the role of the teachers have become very, very important. Teachers, B.Ed, I think, has, if I talk about B.Ed, it has been irrelevant since last 25 years. Not now. When I was in school, I still remember that B.Ed, students, boys or girls, they used to come and they used to be with us for a month or two or so. So please understand, I'm talking about long back. Now I don't see any B.Ed student actually going and picking up any practical experience. So B.Ed is gone, right? The challenge that a teacher faces now is a very different challenge from what, probably my father, when he was teaching in a college, was facing. Personalization. Every student now one size fits all. That, this is the curriculum which will fit for all is not going to work. And if it is not going to work, then you need really, really very, 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 very good trained teachers. Mr. Philip talked about technology. Yes, role of technology is going to be very important. But role of technology is not merely about PowerPoint presentations, or putting the syllabus or the smart boards or the smart classrooms or getting hold of some, provider who gives you lessons in a animated format. No, that's not technology. Technology is probably something different. Parents, the biggest challenge that I see in this national education policy is they're talking about teachers, they're talking about students, multidisciplinary, as Sanobar said. Yes, I think it's very important. As a career counselor, I face this problem. Especially the extraordinary focus on sciences. Everybody wants to study science, even he or she is getting just passing marks in maths or science. Anyway, coming back. So parents, whatever the problem in this national education policy is, until unless the parent does not become an equal stakeholder as a principal or a teacher, the education will really not get meaningful. Because I just diverted from our topic because I see this happening. Lily ma'am, आपसे एक सवाल पूछता हूँ, हिंदी में पूछता हूँ ताकि आप जवाब दीजिए.
Can you hear me?
कितनी बार लोग आपसे आके बोलते हैं, मैडम ये बच्चा आपको सौंप दिया, अब आपकी जिम्मेवारी है. ये डायलॉग कितनी बार सुनती हैं?
रोज सुनती हूँ. They feel that they pay the fee to be of a child and that I have to shape the child completely. Whereas Mr. Nagpal, मैं ये बात कहना चाहूंगी, उनसे मैं कहती हूँ कि 7,000 घंटे वो स्कूल में रहता है, 17,000 घंटे वो आपके साथ रहता है, तो आपकी मेरी पार्टनरशिप में ही बच्चे का उद्धार होगा. You have to work with me in partnership.
I am sorry to interrupt you. मेरे को एक पेरेंट ने आके बोला स्कूल कुछ ध्यान नहीं करता है, एंड सर आप ना कुछ स्कूल जाके कुछ करिए ये वो. तो मैंने कहा नेक्स्ट वेकेशन कहाँ मनाओगे? He said I am going to Switzerland. तो मैंने बोला स्कूल की टीचर को भेजना. उसने कहा क्यों? मैंने कहा यू आउटसोर्सिंग द पेरेंटिंग. तुम तो चाह रहे हो कि तो स्कूल का टीचर घर पे आके भी पढ़ा देगा, तो फिर स्विट्जरलैंड घूमने भी वही जाएगी ना, तुम तो नहीं. Anyway, coming back, classroom management. I think classroom management is one area where we think that it is only controlling the students. Classroom management में teacher का critical thinker होना in terms of looking at the behavior, in terms of because there are especially post 8th class when the the kids have start becoming adolescents and the kind of information blitz that we have, good or bad influences happening. All of you understand. So I think that classroom management has to be really, really important. Curriculum. People sitting in NCERT, people sitting in CBSE decide what should be taught. They should not decide. You should decide. Tell me how much is the participation of school leaders in deciding the curriculum? They just think that this has to be taught. If you look at class 10th, social 9th, 10th and social studies syllabus, I think it is really, it does not give a child complete information of any kind. They're not able to understand the Indian history, neither Indian history nor the world history. It is so fragmented. So this curriculum I think is important, and teachers, the most important thing I think, जो 6% आपने मैम ने बोला 4% बजट बढ़ा दिया है, 1% should go to teachers training. I really feel that teachers go, because challenges बढ़ेंगे. As school leaders and heads of the institution, you will see challenges increasing day by day. And especially in this situation of COVID, once the kids come back to the campuses in normal way, you will have lot of mental